The Scott Fri-YAY Radio Show.
Hey. That is one thing I thought would happen when I had my downtime, was I would be able to just sit and I thought at least, I may have to rebuild my media career, but I'll at least emerge a guitar slinging hero because I'll have plenty of time to I didn't have plenty of time to practice. So busy trying to make things happen that unfortunately I didn't get to play a whole lot. So I figured I'd take a few minutes to play for you guys. Or a few seconds as the case may be. How are you? Good morning. Welcome to our Friday. The stream is live. We're going on. We're here. We're doing our thing. Joe says good morning. Greg says good morning. Mikey says good morning. Again, the one of the hosts of the Cinema Debrief podcast, which is available on all pod servers or whatever those things are. But it's there, so check it out. I monkey lover, and I don't judge. Good morning. Gary gives us a good smile. Another morning there. Let's see. Good morning for number 90 out in Jessup. When you get a moment, check out the link. It deals with accountability for politics. What link? All right, now we can get our morning going because Paul has given us a thumbs up on this Friday morning. Brad says morning, and it gets longer and longer and longer. That morning does. What's happening in another country, but hey, wouldn't it be great here in the United States? I don't see the link. Did you send it somewhere else? Is that what's going on there? Guten Morgen. Yes, indeed. Bobby says good morning from 135. Evelyn says good morning, Scott and friends. Thank you very much. But it doesn't look like Evelyn. Don't forget also again to you jumped right into content. You got to start with a good morning there. That's right. Don't forget again to like and subscribe. We crossed 1120 this week. So obviously our next little goal, we just do little baby step goals. And the next one should be 1130. And where do we stand on that? Oh, we're at 1131. Never mind. Our next goal is 1140. So share it, like it, ring the bell for notifications, all that other good stuff. Number 155 is good morning, all you Funyuns. Paul says good morning. How are you, sir? I'm going to go visit our buddy today, by the way. I'm going to go visit our buddy Gaston today. Otis Putnam reached out to me last evening and said that he was going to do a video on some of the animals that are at the animal center, animal services. And there's some of the ones that have been there for a really long time, the ones that need adopting. And he said, do you mind if I mention your deal, your offer? No, because the offer exists not to glorify me or you guys or the stream. The offer exists to save Gaston's life. So yeah, no, I have no problem with that whatsoever. In fact, I'll be working out of the public safety complex today, so I may pop over there while he's over there shooting footage and see what I can do to kind of be of assistance on that front. But right now, the deal is, and it stands, I'll pay the adoption fee if you will adopt Gaston. I have in my possession a $100 gift certificate to Island Dog. Island Dog is pledged. That's from Robbie Roberts. I want to make sure I mention the people who did these great things. Island Dog themselves have pitched in a $100 gift certificate, and Noah Ring has offered to pony up a $100 gift certificate. So here's the thing. You can get the dog, because setting up shop with a dog is, there is expense that goes along with it. But with $300 worth of dog supplies, that should help ease the transition from this dog into your house, should make it easier for you. So, and we're just trying to get this guy home because he's just a sweet guy. I've got them. I got a picture. I'll show you again. I was sent a bunch of other pictures. I've not uploaded all the other pictures, but I do want to remind you, this is the guy. Got that good brindle pattern to him. He's a cutie. There he is again. But just and sweet and good natured as he can be. That's the thing too. We went and met him earlier this week, and he can be really scared and intimidated. So you have to get to know him, but you also have to take him out in an atmosphere and environment that he is comfortable in, which seems to be the outdoors. He loves being in the outdoors. So anyway, they're going to do some video on him. Otis Putnam's going to do that, and Otis does a really good job with his stuff. So I'm glad to see him taking an interest in this. Sally says, good morning, all. We definitely say good morning to you as well, Sally. And of course, to our Dothan Bureau Chief as well. Paul gives us not only a thumbs up, but a fire. Happy Friday from Pooler from 129. G-Man's toying with the idea of heading to Pooler today. Or not today, tomorrow. Yeah, he's toying with the idea because while he was checking the list, they're adding the Spider-Man movie to IMAX screens, and he was checking to see if Pooler was going to add it, but they're not. And Pooler's not because the Odyssey, well, probably they have a contract to keep the Odyssey there, because I think a lot of the IMAXs are keeping the Odyssey for like 4 weeks. But also the Odyssey's just doing great business in IMAX, and the IMAX in Pooler is, and it's cool that you got something that is this close to this area, that is of the stature that it is, but it is literally one of the best IMAX or theater going experiences you can have, is at that Royal Cinema in Pooler. It is fantastic. So we'll see. Are we fighting against the Coden Armada? I don't know what that means. You'll have to share that with me. Good morning, sir. Good morning, in and out. Got appointments this AM. Good luck on that. Don't forget, when you get in the car, you can Bluetooth your phone. You can put the Facebook or the YouTube feed on your phone, Bluetooth it to the radio, take it with you. You can do it just like everybody used to do it when we were on in the morning on the radio. And again, I had heard from the attorney yesterday, and mostly good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. One of the things they did were like, they wanted to explore every aspect of the contract, and are there any actionable incidents that took place? And so I just spilled my guts, and mostly not a lot of actionable incidents, but a lot of things that are there for negotiating. So that's exciting to me. Also, I think because G-Man told me he's going tonight to the scrimmage. Is there a scrimmage at the stadium? GA scrimmage tonight? Season starts for GA on August 20th on a Thursday night. And then Brunswick High will start on Friday. Everybody keeps asking me what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm not there anymore. I don't talk to anybody there anymore. I was talking to my buddy Callie last night. He doesn't know anything. We're actually talking to him last night because I got some things I want him to do for the county. I want to hire him to do some things for the county, but also I kind of mentioned briefly to him, I told you guys a while back, if I'm able to take this thing and expand it into more, and we can just do like a whole network on this channel. He's one of the guys I want to have a show, and I want him to have I don't want him to have like he does DJ work and stuff like that, but I don't want him to have, I want him to have a talk show. I wanted him to spend some time, and some of the stuff will absolutely make your brain explode, but he's good. I would love to give him the opportunity to do that. I talked a while back about how they iHeart started this Black Information Network, and to me, they did it completely wrong. And I would tell people, I want to do Black Information Network. I could do it for you, but this ain't it. Well, the way they did it, they just had these people, very vanilla sounding people, reading news that was all about scaring Black people. And that to me is not Black Information Network. That's propaganda designed to just, there are a lot of companies that have advertising budgets that they set aside for minorities. Yes, it's true. Minority, reaching minorities, minority outreach, that kind of thing. And so that's what you do. You create a product this is a product geared to reach minorities. And they go, okay, we'll give you those advertising dollars for that. But the reality is they're not reaching a lot of minorities because Black Information Network stations do horribly. But I could have programmed a better one. And one of those would have been a thing like I know Callie would do. So Again, this is pie in the sky stuff. This is in the future stuff. That is assuming we have some success here, which we seem to be having. So, but we gotta actually get this thing out into the marketplace and actually sell it and see if it's profitable. That's the big thing. So happy Friday from 193. 170 says GM, which is good morning. Lisa says good morning. Carla says happy Friday, good morning. But I'm just low on followers. I'll get you to 100 followers today, bruh. Way to affiliate. Okay. All right. I don't know. See, that's the thing is I send this thing to Twitch because I can send it to 3 places, and it's kind of tough to send it to Instagram because you got to get a code and copy a code and do blah, blah, blah. And I try to launch really quickly because I try to show prep right, but as it was with radio, I would show prep until the last second. And I try to do that here. And so it's like Instagram's not a thing for me because of that. And X isn't a thing for me because you have to have the verified account. You have to pay money to X to stream on there. Plus, I lost my original account to the Nigerians. And while they got the Nigerians off of it, they just won't give it back to me yet. So still working on that. Vicky says, good morning. On this day, 1974. We've been getting a lot of these. President Washington invoked the Militia Act of 1792 to suppress the Whiskey Rebellion in western Pennsylvania. The new rebels seem to have had their priorities in order. All right. 29 days until Georgia plays Tennessee. God is good. That's a good opening game, too, by the way. Because it's because Tennessee's, it's not one of those things where you have to be at peak season form, but they're good. So it's kind of the hybrid there. Good morning from 147. Good to have you here. Here's the link again. I still don't have the link. That's so weird. I do not have the link. Rossman 912 says good morning. Kern says good morning. Good to have you here, Kern. Brad says good morning from 165. Have a great weekend, everyone. Hope so. He should open like that every night. It was not every morning. It was nice and unexpected. It was unexpected, I'm sure, but yeah, it's people have said, why don't you play? Why don't you play? And I'm like, I this. I think some of you know this. Every so often I will pop onto Facebook and just play the guitar for a little bit. I do a lot of that because total honesty, because I tend to lay things pretty bare for you guys. I am very insecure about my guitar playing. Very insecure. As in, I fear getting in front of people with a guitar because I know I'm going to screw something up. And so one of the reasons I'll go on Facebook and do that is to kind of get myself into, it's sort of playing in front of people without playing in front of people. And you get the feedback of playing in front of people without actually playing in front of people. So it's kind of easing myself into it. And then sometimes it's also one of those things, sometimes you have to do it and you just do it. Like on Valentine's, they were, we did that comedy show. And they were doing a meet and greet at Tipsy's. I really don't know how that ever worked out. Because I went down to Tipsy's afterwards. Oh, we're going to do the meet and greet. We got there, and the comedian's not there. And then the band saw me. It was Squirt Gun, and I know them, and they're good friends. And Dan, the bass player, loves to have me just play. He's always pushing me to play somewhere, and I don't like to play unrehearsed. And but he popped me up on stage, and Crawford put a guitar in my hands. And so at that point, what do? You don't go, no, I can't do this. You have to just do it. And so I did. And it went okay. It went okay. It didn't go perfectly, but it went okay. People didn't seem to notice when I really screwed up a lot. So I did 2 numbers with Squirt Gun at Tipsy's that night. And then we got done, and the comedian still wasn't there. And I was just kind of done. It'd been a long night. And so I went down the street back to the Ritz, and he's still helping pack up. If you needed help with this, we all could have pitched in just to get you down there because you're what they sold tickets to. So I don't, and after that, I just kind of said, bye, thanks for everything. See you later. And I didn't go back because we were done. But yeah, maybe I'll pick something to play every morning. The other thing though, is you have to understand, there was a point when I was in college where I'd learn a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. And I realized I couldn't play anything all the way through. And so I just kind of made a personal vow at that point that, you know what, you are going to learn every single, if you nothing else, you will learn every single Kiss song, and then you'll learn other things. And so, I can play 100 and something Kiss songs, but that's about all you get on Last Second Sunday. And it's going to be from 4 to 8, Mary Ross Park. There are going to be bands playing. This is not going to be an all day affair. It is going to be, 4 hours is pretty long, but it's going to be to the point. Joe Souza called me and asked me to be one of the MCs along with him, Jenna McNeil, which all makes sense because we all worked with Mark. I think Jenna's the main reason Mark came down here. So it's fitting that she's there. I saw her last week. By the way, Saturday, we were at the same screening of Spider-Man, and we sat and chatted about stuff for a while. And, just good folks. And Mark was a good guy. And Mark did a lot of things for a lot of people. And Mark is one of those cautionary tales that I will tell to everybody. If you have that person in your life that you haven't been around, and you haven't seen them in a while, and you keep making promises to get together, and then you just don't, go the extra mile and get together with them. I can show you my text history with Mark, and it is literally full of, hey, and then a couple of, little banter back and forth. And then, hey, we should get together for lunch. Yes, we should. What about next week? Sure. Call me. All right. I'll call you. You call me. We'll call each other. Okay. And then we never did. And now I can't have lunch with him. And sitting and just kind of riffing with Mark was one of the fun things. It would make your day. So, they're going to have that event for him Sunday, Mary Ross Park, 4 to 8. I don't know if I think they're going to raise funds for charity, but I don't know the details of that. I'll find out, obviously, but, it'll be worth it. It'll be fun. All right. Got a traffic update. Thank you for this, sir. Overturned tractor trailer in one of the roundabouts at exit 143 at the Hyundai plant. Highway 280 towards Pembroke, blocked. How many of you are like me that when you were a kid, you didn't know anything about Pembroke other than that was one of the cities of license for one of our PBS stations, like Channel 8? Now, that was all I knew about it for a long time. Because they do the legal ID for Channel 8, the PBS station. It was I can't remember the call letters now, but they would always ID it as Savannah Pembroke. That's what I remember. All right, let's see. 161 may have to dust off a guitar, check if the strings have rusted. That would be a problem. But you know what? You can go to City Music and get some new ones, and you'll be fine. Not City Music. What am I talking about? Guitar Gallery. Thank you. So Glow Guitar Gallery. There is no City Music. 188 checking in. Glad to have you here, sir. YouTube buffering bad on my end. Yeah, YouTube was a thing yesterday. Switching to Facebook, YouTube buffering. This was a thing yesterday. I don't know why. What's going on? Yeah, I don't know. There is our Holy Ghost trucker. Good to have you here. 181. You know the thing. That's good. Had to switch to Facebook, YouTube, but I don't know what to tell you guys. Facebook is working, but YouTube is buffering. We're all saying it. Yeah, I wish they would add it to the IMAX. I really want to see Highlander and Warhammer in the IMAX when it comes. That IMAX is amazing. What people don't know, and I mentioned it's one of the great movie-going experiences you can have is going to that Royal Cinema in Pooler. It is the tallest IMAX in the world. And it's a proper IMAX. A lot of times when you go to, and I don't want to call out AMC, a lot of times you go to other theater chains, one of which is AMC, and they say they've got an IMAX. It's a licensed IMAX, but it's not the true IMAX, the traditional true IMAX aspect ratio, real IMAX. And it doesn't meet the original screen requirements and the original, IMAX did a thing where they chose to expand years ago. And in doing so, they had to alter the product a little. So, but Pooler is a pure IMAX experience. And it is I think the exception is that I don't think they have film. I think they still do digital, but otherwise it's about the purest IMAX experience you can have. And that's cool. Okay, let's see. Red Lady and I are picking peanuts today before we hit the water to pull some crab pots. Okay, so I'm assuming there's some vacation going on there, some vacation time. I don't have that, unfortunately. I just started. Good morning, Scott and crew. Hope you all have a blessed and happy Friday morning. 149. Good to have you here. 149. Last Starfighter reference. GA has a 3-way scrimmage tonight. Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, BHS heading to Waycross. Yeah, and again, they don't start until week after next for the regular season, but there are scrimmages tonight. So batten down the hatches. And, we'll see what goes on from there. But the season's getting ready to get started. And again, I know nothing. And looks like it's going to stay that way. Let's see. Frederica scrimmage tonight. First game next Friday versus Bethesda. Frederica has been on the thing the last couple of years where they start a week ahead of everybody else. We'll see. We'll see. But good luck on the scrimmage and the first game next week. I do know that Frederica has found a radio home and it has a radio crew and they'll be on the air. And so, but I don't know about the public schools, which had a contract with iHeart, and iHeart has informed them that they intend to fulfill the contract. And again, people keep coming to me going, what are they going to do? I don't know. They don't talk to me anymore. So I don't know. I agree he'd be, I don't know what that is anymore. Headed to Rincon to pick up seeds from Lovett's Hardware. Okay. Are we sending each other notes in the chat? Is that what's going on here? Oh boy. Let's see. Yep. Happy Friday. Yes. Oh, you're doing 2 there. Okay. GA versus Richmond Hill versus Pierce. Rumor has it you got a real job. Yeah. I mean, I will tell you this. I'm surprised I have any hair left today. Today will be the final day of my first week on this, on the job with the county. And it's been training modules, going around and meeting with people, which is good and fun and interesting. But yesterday, I showed up I don't think I spoke to anybody until sometime late afternoon. I don't think I had words with anybody until sometime later. I literally went to the office. I have an office at Pate and I have an office at the Public Safety Complex. And today I'll be going to the Public Safety Complex. Yesterday I went to the Pate building and I had gotten an email the day before that I have an orientation all day next Thursday, which, by the way, next Thursday I'm going to have to cut this really short because the orientation starts at 8:30 and I have to be in place before then. But I got a note that if you're going to do this orientation, you have to have completed this training module, this training module, this training module. And I went, oh. And so I started on that and I just said to myself, you know what, let's see if we can just knock all of this out in one day. And, they always have the projected time that it will take you to finish the module. Basically, it was about 10 and a half hours of training and I did it in 8. So that was good. And I got my tests taken and certificates and, everything. We're good. But I got all of that wiped out. But I think there's still, for EMA, there's still 9 more hours of training and just a bunch of these training modules that you have to take. And I feel bad because you can't. This is the thing. Somebody in the county told me, one thing you're going to learn is that government is slow. Which I already knew because I have to tell people that, but I'm getting to experience it now firsthand because, you think, well, I'm going to get in here and hit the ground running. And there's some people in there that have the expectation that I'm going to hit the ground running because they were sending me we need to do this press release thing. I'm like, I don't have a media list. I don't have any Facebook access. I don't have anything. I'm still doing training modules, but I did get to kind of pipe in and express some opinions on what was being put out. And that was good because it did kind of shift a few things. But yeah, you can't just hit the ground running. There's too much else. So, but yeah, I went and got that. But again, I'm going to keep doing this. And we're very, 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 very close to being able to go on the air on the radio. I got to have a conversation with the attorney. I'm going to try to get a hold of him today. Because that's one of the things he sent me. Let's talk on the phone. I was like, okay. But yesterday I was literally training. I didn't take a lunch break yesterday. I literally trained from the minute I got there to the minute I left. But I got it all done. I thought it was going to stretch into a 2-day thing because of the hours that they were saying it was going to take. But I didn't want that. So I just that's why I didn't take a lunch. I just nose to the grindstone and did it. All right. Good morning, fellow Georgians. Have a peachy day. Bobby Scott will be at that game. Good. Henry Ball says 137. That's all he says. That's good enough. Ricky says, good morning. Good morning from the 341 drop zone. Oh no. And what are you doing stealing boxes for? What are you trying to build a I don't know what that meant. Guitar Jam opening's awesome. Great way to wake up too. Good morning. Immersion therapy. Yeah. Very much so. Oh, hi. There was a nose on my leg. The Tin Man and the rifle. But I don't even know what people are saying anymore. So what you're saying is you'll be playing with Squirt Gun tonight at Tipsy's first. No, I will not be playing it. And I swear, like a couple of weeks after we played, because it was February, then about 6 weeks later, Mrs. Rifen and I went and spent a weekend on Jekyll, just stayed at the Westin, and we went over to Tortuga Jack's for dinner, and Squirt Gun was setting up. And I swear I heard Jeff Swass go, are we going to have to play the Rifen songs again? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to, because Dan was, of course, going, sit in with us. And I was like, I don't know about this. I'm on vacation. So we kind of ate and sneaked out, Let's see. Good morning from number 177 and support staff. 87 here. Good to have you here. We saw Squirt Gun last weekend. Great band. They are a great band. They really are. And just good people, too, which is good. Valerie, 181. Good to have you here. YouTube definitely buffering. I'm getting a lot of that for some reason. How could a computer and transmitter do public service? Not my question. Not my question. 186 checking in channel 9. Yeah, it was channel. Yes, I think it was channel 9 over broadcast. On our cable system, it was 8. But yeah, I think you're right about that. Yes, please call out AMC for their Limax. Mark was always a great member of the Second Sunday crew. So great times, always a blast working with them on the Second Sunday events. Miss those days, absolutely. Good morning, Mr. Riven, my fellow members of the 40, number 111. As a Pembroke native, I can confirm it's a very small town, but it is growing because of the Hyundai plant. Of course. Gene says 179 is in the house. We're glad to have you here. So no meet and greet. Well, not necessarily, but I mean, it may involve. And what he's talking about, for those of you who don't know, we started doing South Georgia 40. I called it the South Georgia 40 Appreciation Tour. And I would go to Savannah and we'd have lunch. And we would just invite everybody to show up and have lunch with us. And we'd sit and chat and people could ask questions, totally off the record, no screener, no producer, no nothing. And then, the next month we'd try to have it in Brunswick. And I'm not going to say there won't be any because you never know. But it'll have to be worked out, and what probably will have to happen is I will just have to take a day off from the grown-up job, which can be done. But first things first, let's get the program on the air first, and then we'll worry about the rest of that stuff. Bonnie says, good morning. Randy says 136 here. Edward McCall, great pressure washer, says that Squirt Gun will be at First Friday tonight. Of course they will. They're workhorses. Absolute workhorses. We can't pass notes. The t-shirt sizes for you, Miss Rifen, for your chicken neck shirts. I don't know what that is. Do I want a chicken neck shirt? That's the next question. I will tell you this, Mrs. Rifen, because there are times when people say, well, I want to do so-and-so. Would you mind letting me do so-and-so for Mrs. Rifen? And I go, no, don't do it. And everybody's like, why? And I go, because Mrs. Rifen is anti-clutter. Mrs. Rifen is anti-stuff. You see me? I am not anti-stuff. Mrs. Rifen is anti-stuff. The reason I think, when we put this room together, she said, I want you to have a studio that is a fully functional, real studio. And I want you to have, the things you want around you. But I think there was an ulterior motive, which was also, I want to be able to cram all of your stuff into one room in the house so I don't have to worry about it the rest of the house. Which didn't succeed, by the way, because it's now spread into the theater room and the guest room and all that. But she tried. All right, let's do some newsing, shall we? We haven't touched any news. Oh, no. Stop it, Skip. Any word on cloud seeding? Feel we haven't had rain in a while. Get my tin foil hat ready for action. There should be, the funny thing was I got a notice yesterday. I was actually going to, with my screen grabs, as we do our screen grabs like this one, I was prepared to put out a screen grab of the weather forecast for today, because yesterday I got a push notification that said rain tomorrow. Some of it's severe. You never know. It's going to be rainy tomorrow about 1:00. And then I looked at the forecast for today, and it was all like the worst it was. And I looked at the Brunswick forecast and the Savannah forecast, and in neither location did it get worse than 15%. So, I mean, somebody's going to get a little shower today, but yeah, we do need some rain. The cloud seeding, not so much. All right, let's talk about a few things. First article, right? Big old front page of Brunswick News. GICA continues to see growth. Taylor Cooper wrote this one. Brian Weiss, who left the college to run GICA, and Brian was the guy I had to deal with at the college when we were doing participate in the job fairs and everything. Brian was always a champ. Brian was always a pro to deal with. They had 1,040 students in 25-26, going to have a 5 to 6% increase in enrollment, projecting 1,100 students at GICA this year. So GICA, and Rick Townsend ran GICA for a number of years and really kind of helped build it into what it is today. It looks like it is just continuing on its positive trajectory, which is a good thing. Let's pull this back up for a second. It's funny. I mentioned we had to do job fairs over at the college. I don't know if you guys understand how some of this stuff works. We're talking about government stuff, government inefficiency. Government doesn't always work right. Here's a great example. We would do these job fairs at College of Coastal Georgia because we had to do job fairs at the College of Coastal Georgia. We didn't have to do them at College of Coastal Georgia. College of Coastal Georgia just made it easy for us to do that. But we were required by the federal government to do at least 4 job fairs a year, unless we actually put it on ourselves, and then we could do like 1 or 2. But we were required to attend. If it was somebody else's job fair, we had to attend 4 job fairs every year and put out the thing for jobs. Problem was, they didn't really have any jobs. But the government didn't care because it's part of the equal employment opportunity stuff. There weren't any jobs. They were cutting. I mean, clearly they were cutting. To my knowledge, they have 1 Brunswick employee right now, a salesperson, who's probably ripping her hair out because, they've taken away one of her best products, 2 of her best products. So, there aren't any jobs, but yet you have to go sit there and say, and people will come to you, the students, what kind of jobs are available? And what they want to hear is, I'll give you your own radio show. Just come in and play whatever you want. Cause that's what people think radio is. And you have to go, well, there's a lot of sales positions around the country. And they go, okay, I don't really want to sell anything. I don't want to sell anything or process anything or buy anything sold or process anything bought or sold. Anyway, that whole thing. So this has become a reality. We've talked about this a few times. City Commission approves the Wolf Street home renovation. Yes, that's right. The City Commission is covering the home renovations of a private person. $150,000 to rehabilitate a home on Wolf Street for use by the city's housing department. Temporary housing for residents whose homes are undergoing renovation. So here we are in the city, and we're like, oh, I'm renovating my home. I can go stay in the government house. I mean, can we have like a pacifiers for adults program or something in the city as well? Let the city fund pacifiers for all the adult citizens of the city, because otherwise I don't see the point of this. I don't get just cradle to graving people. It drives me nuts. Grants approved by Finance Committee. That meeting took place, by the way, and I don't think people knew I was there. That meeting took place about a dozen feet from where I was sitting there doing training modules all day yesterday. I was in my office doing a training module while that meeting, I could hear that meeting happening outside the room while I was working on training modules. Drug court and juvenile justice grants were approved Thursday by the Glenn County Finance Committee. An adult local felony drug court grant, easy to say, from Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for $748,225. And that kind of money's just out there. That's the thing that blows me away. We're going to talk about this too a little bit, because I told you guys a while back Doge was a failure. I've told you that a few times, and a few people have pushed back on me. Really good National Review article chronicling that, yes, Doge was a failure. because we just spend money. Anyway, the grant supports as a match of $132,040 for fiscal year 27 drug court. The grant supports personnel contracts, drug testing, and training/travel for the program. Committee members also approved accepting $275,000 juvenile justice grant. And let's see, the County Finance Committee includes Glenn County Commissioners Alan Booker, David Sweat, and Bo Clark. In other business, commissioners approved a $360,780 change order to Coastal Greenery. This is the funny thing about this. Hi, G. Oh, G's trying to take the dogs out. Hey, sweetie, you got to go. Sweetie comes and curls up by my feet. Don't let Garrison take me away. Go. Hey, sweets, go. Yeah, go. Go with Garrison. Go. You too, lady. Go. Okay. Yeah, you got to take your last break. That's the thing. Anyway, it was funny because I saw people going online when the initial article showed up in the paper of record that Coastal Greenery wanted a change order, and I saw people going berserk. They can't get it done. They've got to have a change order. And I was like, hold tight. You don't know the reason that is being given for the change order. Sit back. Wait a second. Ask a few questions. Don't go on the offensive for nothing. And it turns out they're adding grounds maintenance and mowing of designated areas along 341, Harry Driggers Boulevard, Spur, and Coast Guard Beach Park. So in other words, that was not part of the scope of their contract. So they're going to add that to their contract. And yes, it will cost more money. They're doing more work. But I saw people on social media just erupting about, they can't do it within that money. That's on them. It shouldn't be on the taxpayers. And that's what happens when you go off ignorantly. So, I encourage people to go off. Just don't go off ignorantly. That's all. And I don't think that's too tough an order, is it? All right, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, the cloud seeding was... let's see. My 11th grader will be going to GICA this year for the healthcare course. Yes, there you go. It's quite useful. Good morning. Thank goodness it's Friday. Absolutely. Will they rehabilitate their streets? There's a good question. Well, they are rehabilitating their streets. They're putting a roundabout at Castle and 341 right there. Pace Creech. Good morning. Good to have you here. I usually fall asleep while doing training modules. You know what? It's a struggle. The struggle is real. I will tell you that. Bo says, I think Bo is referring to the finance committee and the coastal greenery thing. And again, I don't know if you saw that or not, but I saw people just going off on the count, how they can't even control their vendors and their contractors. And they've got, and it's like, just hang on, find out what this is about first. I mean, pay attention to what's good, let's just hair trigger. And let's just shoot to kill. And we don't even know what we're doing. Oh, there's a pair of slippers under the bed. Might be a burglar. Oh, sorry. It was a neighbor. Don't know what to tell you. That kind of stuff annoyed me. I think I said on the stream, just hold tight and see what it's about first. And we did, and it was actually they're doing more work, so it costs more money. Hey, concept. FYI, the pre-order for the book by Riley Blanton started yesterday. You are correct. I received that in my email as well. I am remiss in not having had a screen grab of that to add to the mix here today. And I'm trying to find the email because I got the email yesterday as well. Riley Blanton, Stephen Kent, their new book. We had Riley on. Riley and I talked a little while back about him coming on every week and doing a segment. And I said yes. And then we didn't make the dates. So we'll have to do that because I would like to have Riley on. If not every week, then every other week. But I'd like to have Riley on frequently because he has great insight. He's very smart. He is very inside. I mean, he's a guy who knows things that a lot of people don't know. And he looks at things with an eye towards the bigger picture and not towards scoring immediate political points. So, their book for order, and I'm trying to remember the name of the thing now. That's terrible. That is the one thing about getting old that does drive me nuts is I don't remember things as well as I used to. And I'm a guy who, like, my memory is a thing. The Great Escape, there it is. And it's actually Simon and Schuster. Just look for The Great Escape, Stephen Kent, Riley Blanton. 30 reflections on stoicism, faith, and the wisdom of great stories. And it's coming out in December, but it's available for pre-order. You can get it. Hi, lady. And I look forward to it because I think a lot of both of those guys. Definitely. I discovered Riley has a fantastic YouTube channel. He does. And when he comes on, we'll let him promote that. Watchtower Intel is his Substack. I don't know if that's what he calls the YouTube channel, but I subscribe to it as well. He's been traveling a lot too. I don't know where he's getting the money to do all that, but I don't ask these questions. But yeah, it's going to be a good book. I look forward to it, and I'll probably buy a copy of it physically just to have here. And then I'll probably buy an electronic copy just to run around with. And I think Stephen is doing the audiobook. And so, we'll check that out as well. Let's see. My boo-boo, I thought the finance committee story was out about the city. No, not the finance committee story. But the House story was about the city, where they voted to rehab a house on Wolf Street so that they could have a place for people to stay while their houses are being rehabbed. Oh. If the third number hasn't been given today, may I please have a number? I'm trying to be more active and involved now, but I've been loyally listening since you took the reins in Savannah. Well, Hunter, that sounds like somebody who deserves a number. And so we shall do that. Let's see. 197 is Hunter's number. Just that simple. Oh, he's Bumgarner with a no T in there. I usually put a T in there. So let me fix that. There you go, Hunter. You are the next one. Yes, that's exactly why we pulled it, to get info out. Sean spoke to it and cleared it up for JF and SM. Well, hopefully, but who knows? Yeah. Well, and you can make sense and sometimes not make sense, if you know what I'm saying. So let's talk about some of these other things here. What's next? Oh yes, of course. The U.S. needs more rental. This is from December 18th, 2024. I found this kind of interesting because it was a Don Matthews piece. And we were talking about the rentals cottages thing. It's a nonprofit, and they're building houses with. There's a lot of things I don't, and I guess they file reports, and I'm sure the reports are filed and they're up to date and they're snazzy and everything. But they're building houses with donor money, and then they're selling the houses. But it's workforce housing, but it's really not. I mean, it's not out of the ballpark financially from what everything else is. I'm like, in the market, the prices seem to be about the same as the rest of the market. They're just small houses. Again, they're doing like an 1,100 square foot house for $275,000, and the other day we were looking at a really nice house. G-Man was looking at a really nice house. We were with him. Really nice 1,300 square foot house that was $250. It's under $250 now. Out in Sterling. So, $275 for an 1,100 square foot house, and then $150,000, $149,000 for like a 430 square foot home. And I can't imagine there's a resale value to that. But then on top of that, they're building with donor money. They're still looking for donations for the next phase. But I would think that the money that you would make, because you have the donor money, you build the houses, and then you sell the houses, you should have new money that you should be able to use to build the next phase of houses. But then to find out that, like, one of their board members is a mortgage lender. And I would think that that would scream conflict of interest. Well, I mean, you have a nonprofit that is building these houses. Then you have somebody who profits from the sale of houses. The goings and doings of the city are enough to break your brain. They're absolutely enough to break your brain. This is funny to me. I'm sorry. This is funny to me when people just get worked up about stuff, and like they're designed, like they're programmed, they've got to be worked up about stuff. and therefore they're going to be. And this is a good example. McIntosh commissioners approve hog hammock zone ordinance. And I assume this will show up in the paper of record like tomorrow. I don't know. McIntosh County commissioners approved a zoning ordinance to increase the home size on hog hammock. You ready for this? By 150 square feet. Yeah, this is the outrage. This is the screaming and the groaning and the gnashing of teeth and the wailing. Tuesday, McIntosh County Planning and Zoning unanimously recommended a zoning ordinance to allow homes of 1,550 square feet. 2 days later, county commissioners called for a special called meeting to vote on the recommendation. The zoning ordinance will allow hog hammock homes to be built up to 1,550 square feet under roof with an additional 400 square feet of porch, along with a building height of 32 feet. The previous building cap was 1,400 square feet. And you say, and I say, it's not terrible. During Tuesday's special called meeting, residents were able to voice their concerns. And it was one thing when they were talking about going to like 3,000 square feet. Okay, fine. Got to preserve the history. But to preserve the history between 1,400 and 1,550, I'm just not seeing the outrage. I'm just not seeing the reason for the outrage, I should say. I noticed at the very end of the char of the planning and zoning, I wonder if that's supposed to be chair of the planning and zoning. They asked if anybody here supports this. Vice Chairman of the Federal Government Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Commission, Griffin Lotson said. Reverend Griffin Lotson. Nobody says they support it. Not one person. Okay. It's 150 square feet. And the reality is you don't get a lot of people, and Bo's on the feed here, he can tell you don't get a lot of people show up at these things supporting things. I mean, it happens, but most of the time when you're doing something, everybody's showing up to oppose something because that's just the way people are. I hate this, but they never sit back and go, I would support this. This is great. You guys are doing a great job. The most enforceable way we can deal with these people breaking these codes without having to go in with a search warrant. County commissioner said the previous 1,400 square foot zoning limit was not enforceable, needed to be changed. I don't understand why 1,400 wasn't enforceable, but 1,550 is, but I'll just step back on that one. I don't get that. But a vote was made after a long moment of silence and multiple questions about legality. The commission voted to approve the recommendation 3-1 that applies to new development at homes that already there are grandfathered in. So, yeah, if somebody says, we want to go to 3,000 square feet, and I can see people getting in an uproar. Oh no, we can't do this. But going from 1,400 to 1,550, it's the slippery slope, Ryfin. Okay, well, we'll see if they take the next step in the slope to 1,700, then maybe we start asking questions about a slippery slope. But for right now, it's a one-shot deal, and it's, for now, it's going to stay a one-shot deal. Big forum on the gubernator's race. I didn't even know we had a gubernator, as Jim Gossett would say. All right, let's see really quickly, though. Let's see. Not sure who Riley is, local author. No, Riley Blanton is a friend of the show. He does live in Georgia. No, he might live in Alabama right now. He lived in Georgia for a long time. Graduate of Georgia Tech and Georgia State. A dual enrollment. Current Air Force intelligence officer. And we've had him on the program talking about Iran and kind of what he sees and what he has. And he's got a book coming out with Stephen Kent, who's been on the program a number of times as well. And so Riley Blanton's book and Stephen Kent's book, same book, The Great Escape, is available right now for pre-order. Could the houses have a lower threshold to purchase, lower credit score, lower down payment, et cetera? Well, they'll have a lower down payment by virtue of, if you do first-time home buyer, there's not much lower you can get because that's like 3%. And I imagine that will be the place where there will be a lot of first-time home buyers doing it. But I have no knowledge of these things having any kind of a lower threshold. But and by the way, also all of these homes are supposed to be done by January 1st of 2026. We are now in July, and they're just now doing articles about they're almost done. And that's kind of hinky to me. But again, I don't know of a construction project I've ever seen that was on time and under budget. So I guess there's that. But I don't like the idea of this thing being nonprofit, and yet there are people who profit from doing exactly this. 150 square feet sounds oddly specific. I agree. It is weird, but I don't know what they have to say. Makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. There you go, Groucho. Dwayne says, good morning from number 180. Glad to have you with us. Now let's talk about the gubernator candidates. Keisha Lance Bottoms and Rick Jackson. Brian Kemp has now fully, loudly endorsed Rick Jackson. The Democrat in the race, this is Ty Tagami, Capitol Beat News Service. The Democrat in the race, former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who literally, I don't think she termed out. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how she is the Democrat nominee, because my recollection is she couldn't run for, she would not have gotten reelected to mayor of Atlanta, I thought. But I may have had that wrong. Keisha Lance Bottoms spoke of government solutions for problems such as the shortage of affordable housing and health care. Let us remind you of a couple of things. One is the shortage of health care was entirely caused by the government. We have a shortage of health care right now in large part because of the massive government spending on health care. You know, we've talked about this before. When you have socialism, you get shortages. And Obamacare pushed us really close to being socialist as far as socialized medicine goes. And we're not even full bore socialists, but we're getting close. You know, these guys who stand up and go, we should have health care, we should have Medicare for all. We almost do. And what has come with that? A shortage. With government control of things, you will have shortages. With government price control, you will have shortages. It's just a real thing. Let's see. What are you going to do about your county job if you go back on radio? Well, it's not if, it's when. And you know, it was part of the conversation we had when and look, I was one of a bunch of different candidates. I was told there were somewhere between 8 and 10 different people that interviewed for the position. So I'm cognizant of the fact that they didn't have to hire me, and that I was not, that it wasn't something where I was a hand-picked guy for the job. But it also means I feel like because I had one of the department heads ask me, do you plan to be here in a year? I went, well, yeah. I mean, I plan to, yes. I'm taking the job seriously, and I seriously want to do it. I seriously want to have longevity. And hey, they've got a 401, what is it, 401A or something? It's not a 401k technically, but they do matching. But you got to be there for 5 years to be vested. So, I feel like I should be there for at least 5 years, right? But it was part of the conversation during the interview process is, what about the radio? Do you plan on doing the radio? And I said, yeah, I do. I plan on doing the radio. And they came up with a set of hours for me that would accommodate my being able to do the radio. And, and there were also questions about, because, there's some things I'm not going to do. If I hear a really good, juicy piece of information that is not suitable for release, I can't come on the program and blab about it. But the reality is there are a lot of people who trust me with a lot of information and have trusted me with a lot of information over the years because I am good with information. I'm responsible with information. So that's not an issue. But when I go back on the radio, my plan is to do the radio in the morning, do the county job, and then do some more radio afterwards. I think it's going to work out. And so, and again, they literally crafted my hours so that I could do a show from 6 to 9. And let me say this, the show will not go to 10, it will go to 9. That was my choice, period, from the start. That was before the possibility of the county job even came up. I was already going to cut it to 6 to 9 because I was doing 4 hours, and 4 hours was absolutely killing me. And so yeah, it's gonna be 3 hours. I'll be able to do it 6 to 9. I'll be able to be on job site by 9:30. It'll be very, 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 it'll work very well together. And yeah, Jacksonville bureau chief says something that I mentioned, I think, during one of the meetings. He says, I'm assuming not having all the VP of programming responsibilities will free up a lot of time for the county job. And here's the reality of all of that. My job at the radio station, my job title was VP of programming. I don't know that everybody knew that. And so I would get to the radio station in the morning, and I would basically work on the show. I mean, I'd do some computer work for the first hour, but I would essentially get there at 4 a.m, and I would do work on the show until 10:30. That's about when I'd finished doing everything for the show, because afterwards you have to get the podcast feed ready and put it out. And the rest of the day, I still had to run all 5 radio stations. I had to write things. I had to come up with promotions. I had to cut commercials. I had to make sure computer logs looked good. A lot of the things the DJ said are things I wrote. We would listen to the radio sometimes, and DJ would say something. I'd turn to my wife and go, I wrote that. So yeah, there was the business of running the radio stations. And it really felt to me for a couple of years first off, I was on call 24/7. And it felt for many years like I had 2 full-time jobs anyway. So, I think we'll be okay. But I do appreciate your asking, because I know people are curious. But it's going to be okay, I think. I think it's going to be all right. Let's see. Bottoms reiterated an earlier call to pause data center approvals, while Jackson said he would leave it up to communities whether to allow them to build, noting the potential local tax benefits. And again, that right there is a good enough reason to vote for Rick Jackson at this point. Keisha Lance Bottoms wants to pause data centers for no real reason other than the hysteria around them. And Rick Jackson says, no, let's do it. Let's do a thing. Next story. 3rd suspect ID'd in brutal downtown beating, Chatham County Sheriff says. Now, he did not do it while wearing a blonde wig, and that's good. Sheriff's Office identified a 3rd suspect in one of the city market beatings. There were 2 beatings in June. If you saw the video of this stuff, it's really disgusting. Richard Coleman said Thursday the newest update in the brutal assaults that went viral on social media 2 months ago. Both incidents on June 13th and June 17th reportedly took place in the downtown city market area near Ellis Square. And I say this, if you want to get rid of the crime in these squares, you rename them. We haven't had any assaults in Taylor Square, have we? Ever since they renamed it, it's fine. So we should just rename all the squares. Oh, but he did the vague thing. We identified you. You know that we're coming. You need to know I'm coming for you. What happened was you was sitting there. This is a sheriff, by the way. This is an elected official. This makes my head hurt. What happened was you was sitting there shooting a doggone video, and you went in the man's pockets while he was unconscious. You didn't help him. Thank goodness he's the sheriff and not the grammar police. Hilton Head takes first step towards teens. I saw this story and I went, what? The first step toward a curfew for teens on Hilton Head Island will be up for debate next week. This comes on the heels of the mass shooting on Coligny Beach that injured 8 people on the 4th of July. 2 groups started fighting. That's right, they're groups. They're just groups. Don't worry about it. Groups. That's all you need to know. They're groups. The only people I give, and it's funny that this is an SAV story. Andrew Davis wrote it. Andrew Davis, again, is gold in my book. Because Andrew Davis stopped us from getting completely drowned a couple of years ago at Statesboro. But it's funny to me that SAV actually did that piece on the gangs in Savannah. And it was really good. It was really well done, really well researched. And then nobody has really followed up on that with SAV or with any other news agency. But they did it right after the mall shooting, the Oglethorpe mall shootings. It was really good because it just literally drew the lines. Here are these guys. Here are who they associate with. Here's the projects that they operate out of primarily. Here's who they hate. Here's the projects they come out of. The whole thing. It was really well done. But so anyway, 2 groups started fighting on the beach. Just groups. What legally constitutes a group? You can't call them gangs because they legally may not meet the threshold for a gang. Okay, what legally meets the threshold for a group? The two groups started fighting on the beach. Multiple people opened fire, according to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Department. 7 people, all aged 17 to 19 years old, are now facing charges. Now, let me just say this. And so because of that, Hilton Head Island wants to put in a teen curfew. It wasn't the teen part that shot those people. It's the thug part. It's the thug part. These guys are just kids who were not raised in a good household. But kids who were raised in a good household, we're going to restrict them now because some kids who were raised in a bad household shot a bunch of people. It has nothing to do with their being a teenager. Nothing at all. I think a teen curfew is a bit excessive. Sorry, I do. Really quickly here, let's go to this because it's Friday. I do have some work I got to do. I got training to do. I got training. Savannah Police Department arrested a man in connection with a sexual assault at Daffin Park. By the way, that's the picture you want. You know, when the crime pages put out the mug shots, there's your mug shot. That's like an all-time classic. They're going to be taking off on that one for a while. According to SPD, 30-year-old LaShawa Doyle, and again, let's go back to parents, pay attention to what you name your kids. The percentage of LaShawas that are currently in incarceration, I guarantee you, is much higher than the John and Jimmy percentage that is in, or the Rob that is incarcerated right now. I promise you, the percentage of LaShawas in the world in the Hooskow, much higher than the percentage of Jimmy's. He's charged with attempted rape, aggravated sexual battery, and false imprisonment. Police say the incident happened on August 6th near a bathroom in Daffin Park. A bystanders notified a police officer immediately, and the suspect was captured after a short chase. Jail records show Doyle was released from custody 17 days before his latest arrest and is listed as unhoused. He's unhoused, everybody. By the way, it's his 8th arrest of 2026, his 22nd arrest since 2020. Why is he just not in prison? He'd be housed if he was in prison. That's what he wants. And maybe we should just give it to him. But by the way, this whole unhoused thing. I mean, how stupid do we have to be? You know what that means. I know what that means. You know what unhoused is? Unhoused is the Latinx of homelessness. Remember a few years ago when they were trying to make Latinx happen? And the reason they were trying to make it happen is because they were trying to make it gender neutral because Latino is masculine and we can't have men representing everything. So the Latinx is supposed to be the gender neutral part. That's why they do mixing, because they remove the word men from women. They put the X there. The problem is that with Spanish, if you know anything about Spanish, everything's gendered. Like nothing, and everything is gender binary. The entire language evolved entirely gendered and gender binary, which means there are 2 genders according to the Spanish language, and everything has a gender. And they hate that. So they had to make up that word Latinx, and they thought they would shove it down people's throats, kind of like they shoved hating the term Redskins down Indians' throats, when actually it was a word the Sioux called themselves. But so they thought they could get away with that, and the Hispanic community went, no, we quite like Latino, it's fine, or Latin, or we don't need Latino. So they wind up, finally, most of them on the left wind up dropping it. Unhoused is the Latinx of homelessness. No doubt about it. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'll check out Riley. You should check out Riley. He has a Substack called Watchtower Intel that is really, really, really super good. And because, again, it's just smart. It's just intelligent. It doesn't play politics. It plays reality, because you see pundits going on TV telling you about all the things that are happening militarily, particularly in Iran. you see pundits coming on TV, and you have to understand every one of those pundits is trying to push, they're literally there to push in a political agenda. They're not there to add actual insight. They're there to push politics. And Riley is there to push facts. Period. All right, let's see. What color vest was the Chatham County Chief Sheriff? I don't know. I don't know. Every time two groups come up, I hear it said like My Cousin Vinny with two Utes. Did you know that there are sequels to My Cousin Vinny out there? Here's one of those weird quirks of publishing. This guy was commissioned to write the novelization. You know me, I'm kind of some of you may not know. I know Jacksonville Bureau Chief does know this. I'm kind of a nut for movie novelizations. I just find it fascinating that you can take a movie and turn it into a novel. Everybody takes novels, turns them into movies. But it used to be back in the day, just about every movie that came out, there was a novel of the movie. And anyway, the guy that was hired to write the novelization of My Cousin Vinny somehow retained the rights to continue writing novels. So I know he's done at least 2 My Cousin Vinny sequels. And they're available as ebooks on Kindle, pretty cheap, like $2.99 or something like that. So just a thing to look at. Gangs, Savannah? You mean just groups of young adults? Well, they're groups. Yes, that's right. With guns from unlocked cars. Exactly. Knee-jerk reactions to actions. Always looking for the soft, easy, quick fix. Yes, 100%. I've been doing both facilitating department training all week. I've come to the conclusion the goal of human resources industrial complex is to get to a point where no actual work is done. The funny thing is, there are, because everybody just sits around and does training all day. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, you get to a point where you're reading it and you go, wait a minute, let me read that again. Because I thought I could read, and I'm reading this, and none of the sentence makes sense to me. And I don't know if it's like you're sitting there for so long, you just get, like, your brain just goes, I'm rejecting things now. Or if literally it is written in such gobbledygook, such HR speak gobbledygook that it just, you just can't process it. But the funny thing to me is I'm doing the training module on NIMS, which is the National Incident Management structure or system. And it's just, it's basically and I've known about it for years, but I haven't done the deep dive like I did yesterday. But it's basically a system that's standardized, that if everybody knows it and everybody learns it, then you can do quickly. Different agencies can very quickly work together to deal with emergency situations like hurricanes, like earthquakes, like train derailments. I mean, like really anything, like bad car wrecks. And so there's a certain command, and it's funny. There's a command structure, and you'll have chiefs, and you'll have all these different ranks. And for some reason in the training, it would say like, oh, here's the command chief. And here's the so-and-so specialist, and here's this person. And they would show a picture of the person who would represent that role. And let me just tell you something. No dogs allowed. You remember that on Charlie Brown? That's what I was feeling like when I was watching it, because it was like no white guys. Like no white guys are in charge of it. Like every time they'd show a picture of the person in charge of whatever area or department we were studying, black guy, black woman, white woman, Asian guy, Asian woman. There were no white guys in charge of anything, according to this thing. It was like, and it's like, just like playing the odds. There are going to be a couple of white guys in here, but no white guys in charge of anything. Absolutely amazing. The government HR training is the worst, and every year you have to do it again, and it doesn't change. You just end up clicking through it. NIMS is useful, though, till chiefs fight for control. Well, and again, if they fight for control, they're not following NIMS. But NIMS, NIMS is useful. It is a thing. And it's kind of funny because, like I said, I've known about it for years, and yesterday I did a huge deep dive into it. And I came out kind of 2 minds. One, it is very useful, and if everybody learned it with every agency and they activated it and they did it, then it would work and it would help people out. It is a good system. On the other hand, what you're saying is everyone in the entire country should standardize to one set of That's pretty much it's kind of antithetical to the country. But anyway, sometimes too much training and overload of meetings. NIMS is required also to get FEMA funding, especially on storm. It is. And again, it's But you know what? That's, Walter, it's a really good point of what I've been talking about with grants and everything, and that is they will dangle that over your head. You have to do the thing that we want, or else we will not give you money. Which is again why I say once again and again, I blame no one at any local level for this. Grants are the devil. I'm not telling people not to pursue them because again, they're there, they're budgeted, they're funded, and if you don't get it, somebody else will. And if you don't go after it, you will fall behind everybody else. But at the top of the ladder, some of these faucets need to be shut off. Just saying. Let's see. Glad you're going back on the radio. I am too. It's going to be fun. And again, I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to continuing to learn in the county position as well, because it's been an interesting experience this first week. But it has been a week full of meetings and trainings, and next week will be more trainings and more meetings, and hopefully, I'll start to dip my toes into doing things. It's funny because now every time a press release comes out, people will send it to me. Go, was this you? Did you do this? It's like, no, I haven't. The only thing I did, I had some input on. There was a flock one yesterday, and I had a little tiny bit of input on one yesterday, but and it did change because of my input. So my input was correct, and that's good. But in the overall, yeah, it's you. I'm a hit the ground running guy. And you can't hit the ground running. It's just the beast is bigger than that, unfortunately. So, but we'll get to it, and I'll be up to full speed, hopefully very soon. Let's see, what do we have? We had that already. Senate panel votes to hold Fauci in contempt. This is an interesting piece, and this is from National Review. And the reason I think it's an interesting piece is that. It really talks about the possibility of actually being able to hold him in contempt. And apparently it's more than just the panel votes to hold him in contempt and therefore he's in contempt. It has to go before the entire Senate before he can be held in contempt. And the article seems to suggest it may not go down. That, there's a lot of tough talking from people on the committee. And by the way, it was strictly partisan vote, 8-5. But there's a lot of talk. Fauci may not get held in contempt. Let me go to this one really quickly because this is one that I really, really, really wanted to get to this morning. And there it is. John Puri. And this is the thing I've been talking about for a while, and that is that Doge did not save money. Doge was a failure. It's a bigger failure than I thought. Government Accountability Office, which is within the legislative branch, not the executive, has a solid report out today concluding that Doge's supposed hundreds of billions of dollars in federal savings were not what Elon Musk and company claimed. Washington Post summarizes, though Musk aimed to cut $2 trillion in federal spending, even by Doge's own estimates, it fell well short. A sporadically updated website tallying its cuts and a wall of receipts stated that its initiatives have saved $215 billion. Now again, $215 billion is about a tenth of what they said they were going to cut. But the Government Accountability Office examined $110 billion of this claimed savings that derived from contracts, grants, and leases. Doge's wall of receipts includes leases identified for, because a fraction of the figure was derived from anything real, it says. It includes leases identified for termination before the group was established. So they didn't really cut that. It's a cut, but it's not their cut, according to the report. In total, 108 of 264 leases Doge identified on its website were already in process for termination when it came into being, the GAO said. So almost half the leases they claimed they cut, they didn't cut. In addition, Doge claimed to have terminated 13,476 contracts, but the GAO analysis showed nearly 2,000 of these contracts were not terminated. Of $61 billion in contract savings Doge reported, the GAO said more than half the funds, nearly $35 billion, were either not terminated or unable to be corroborated by the investigators. because Doge's data was not specific enough to identify it. Roughly 27.4 billion of the savings Doge claimed from cancellations were from contracts that were not actually terminated, the GAO said. In these cases, another action, such as reducing the contract value or de-obligating some funds, could have occurred. Anyone who followed Doge's wall of receipts at the time knew perfectly well that most of the numbers were mistaken, illusory, or simply made up. That's why, under internet scrutiny, Doge quietly deleted the 5 largest savings entries on its list, totaling billions of dollars in non-existent cuts. We could go through each and every falsity or mention how Doge didn't dare scrape the true drivers of federal spending, Social Security and healthcare entitlements. But there's an even surer way to prove that Doge was full of it: cold, hard accounting results. On January 7th, 2025, 3 days before Trump was inaugurated and Musk got the keys to the Treasury, the Congressional Budget Office projected that federal government would spend $7 trillion in 2025. What did the government actually spend in 2025, the year of all those Doge cuts? $7 trillion. For 2026, the record's even worse. The CBO projected in its January 2025 report that the government would spend $7.3 trillion this year. Its updated projection as of this January is that we will actually spend $7.45 trillion. Good work, everyone. The Doge reduced federal spending from its trajectory is a farce, promoted by both the administration's allies and its opponents. Achieving such an objective was never going to be that easy or so haphazard. In other words, though, and let's talk about this for a second, because this kind of slips by a lot of people, where he says that Doge reduced federal spending from its trajectory is a farce, promoted by both the administration's allies and its opponents. In other words, you hear all these people, the big government guys, screaming that Doge was responsible for, these agencies, no, people don't have things, people don't have stuff anymore, they can't get services, they can't get. It's not true. That's what you need to know. The people screaming that Doge made all these awful cuts, they didn't make all these awful cuts. And so, yeah, on the one hand, I don't like it when conservatives go, Doge saved us all this money, because they didn't save us any money. But when people sit there and go, Doge cut all of these features and things from the government, also not true. Let's see. Brian says, they can't pay the same 70, 80% support. Fraudchi will be fine. We will not have any answers or accountability. The world turns on. A lot of it is in the way these things get pursued, sadly. We will know it's Scott writing it, because you'll see the 2nd, 3rd, 4th anniversary versus 3-year, plus Oxford comma usage. Guilty on both counts. I will not say, I'm sorry, I will not say the 2-year anniversary, because it's not. It's the 2nd anniversary. And I don't know why we do that. We do that, and I've told you that before. We have this weird thing. We've split something. Culturally, we flipped it, because I don't know anybody who doesn't do this. They'll go to their 25-year high school reunion, and they'll go, I'm going to my 25th high school reunion. And you're not, because there have not been 24 previous high school reunions. You're going to your 25-year high school reunion. But they will say, I'm going to my 25th high school reunion. And then when it's time for their anniversary, it's our 25th anniversary, is what they should be saying. But instead, they go, it's my 25-year anniversary. No. It's like saying, I'm going to have a slice of bread slice. It's redundant. When you look at you look in the dictionary under redundant, it says see redundant. Government workers would work for the Department of Redundancy Department. But yes, I am also an Oxford comma guy, all day, every day. I think the Oxford comma has probably saved mankind a few times. And that's about it. Let's see. I don't hold out hope the contempt charge will go anywhere. I think what Fauci really fears, if he's smart, is civil liability. Millions of people died because of gain of function research, and it was the most expensive pandemic in human history. There's a thing. Let's see. Doge was a complete and utter failure. It was a complete and utter failure, yes. Let's see. But now they're bad because they weren't able to cut it while being fought the whole way. No, I you know me. I wanted them to cut it. I was pulling for them. But now, let's accept the Doge was more of a venture to highlight waste than actually cutting waste. Yeah, but, I don't know that they were effective in that respect either. Because right now, what do you got? Let's see. Cheese quesadilla. There's a redundancy he's talking about. Yeah, the only thing about the cheese case, the reason I will make a little bit of an excuse for cheese quesadilla, I will make a little bit of an excuse, is because you may be suggesting that the only thing I want on it is the cheese. Because if I get a quesadilla, I'm getting cheese and I'm getting like ground beef or steak or something. And it may be, but yeah, that in and of itself, yes, that is a redundancy. Scott, how's the dog says question? What? I'm not sure what that means. Cuts in USA, now DNC cash flow is minus $2 million. Yeah, I don't know if that's, I know that's said. Maybe. At the beginning of the 25th year. Let's see. First, no, it's the end of the 25th year. Because the first anniversary would be 1 year later, the end of the first year. Yeah, so no, it'd be the beginning of it'd be the end of the 25th year. Let's see. Let me be fair to Doge. At least it served as first shot across the bow, which is well. And let me say this: initially, they were trying, but that's one of those things, and that's the argument that we have to have. And we had this argument with some other people on the right, which was, a lot of people you can't take a chainsaw to this thing. You have to take a scalpel, and the reality is you can't take a scalpel to the federal budget. It's not scalpelable. You can't do it. What you have to do is take a chainsaw to it, and then the things that you go, okay, well, we did need this. Let's put that back. Okay, we did cut that. We need that. Let's put that back. And that's the only way really you can do it. You have to just saw off giant chunks, or else you're not going to get it done. Because you'll be scalpeled to death. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. I'll continue to fight that fight and argue that fight with other Republicans that say you can't take a chainsaw to the budget. You have to take a scalpel to it. You can't take a scalpel to it. It's too big. You take a scalpel to it, you'll never be able to. It's like saying, okay, so let's take the number one trillion. Let's take a trillion numbers. And we're going to go through that trillion numbers, and we're going to take out all of the prime numbers one by one. You'll never get there because you're going, is that a prime number? Is that a prime number? Is that a prime number? Okay, we'll get rid of this one. Prime number. Yeah, we'll get rid of that one. It'll never happen. Let's see. So my wife, maybe a post announcing our first anniversary with our salon, the AI graphic had 1 year late at night. I got into ChatGPT to correct the year first. I'm still, good for you. You did exactly the right thing. It is your first anniversary. That is exactly right. Good for you. I lose so many of these battles of words with the culture. I'm so glad somebody is actually helping me win this one. I've lost a lot of them. The one I'm having to fight right now is one I never thought I'd have to fight. You know what that is? Mischievous. I never thought for the life of me that people would actually say. I thought little kids would say it in elementary school and the teachers would correct them and we'd move on. But now we have adults who are walking around saying mischievous. They're adding an I to mischievous where it does not belong. I don't know why that's happening. And it's happening like commonly. Like you get audiobooks sometimes and the person in the audiobook will say mischievous. And you're like, what? Your job is to speak. How do you not know mischievous? But yeah, so I'm glad. Nick, thank you for helping. That's all I can say. Forget chainsaw, wrecking ball, or dynamite is required. Yeah, either or. We're at that point. All right. Speaking of being at that point, I think we're at that point where I've got to get out of here because I want to get. I don't officially have to be at work until 9:30, and that's because of the radio show. When the radio show gets going, it will be on until 9, and then I just jump up and I run over to the Pete Building or Public Safety Complex or whatever. But I will be at Public Safety today. I'm going to help Otis Putnam at Animal Services. We're going to try and get this guy adopted. And again, you if you adopt him here, first off, you can. He's 4 years old now. I'm 4 years old, and you can foster him first and see if he's a fit. Nobody's going to have a problem with that as long as you get him out of the kennel for a little bit. That's a good start. because he's on death row. And as you can see, he's a hardened criminal. I mean, he kind of dresses like one. Never mind. You can see this hardened criminal here is on death row and needs to be gotten out of there. He is as fun as he can be when he's given room and space. And I got to encounter him in two different environments. One was in the adoption room where he was very scared and very timid, and I lured him with food into letting me pet him and spend some time with him. But boy, once we got outside, he was crazy. He was great. Loved him. He's a great, great dog. And we're going to try and get him adopted again. I have not had an official paycheck since June 30th, but I will cover the $50 adoption fee if you will adopt him. Robbie Roberts has given a $100 Island Dog gift certificate. Island Dog will give you a $100 gift certificate. I would say the proof of the adoption will be bring Gaston by Island Dog, and they will be able. Oh yes, there he is. And Noah Ring is pledged $100 as well. I don't know where these struggling college students get the money, but yeah. Okay, so meatless quesadilla or meatless pizza in lieu of cheese pizza. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Because the pizza by definition also has cheese on it. You know what's funny is Garrison, when he was a little kid, would order pepperoni pizza and then he would take the pepperonis off. And he wouldn't eat the pepperonis. He would just take them off. Like, I have to have pepperoni pizza. And then he takes the pepperonis off and he would never eat them. And I said to him one day, I said, hey, gee, why don't you just order a cheese pizza? And he looked at me and goes, I don't like cheese pizza. So yeah, I never understood that. Let's see. I like sandwiches. Bologna, peanut butter and jelly, and banana are my favorites. Yeah, see, there's a good example of the Oxford comma saving it, because otherwise it could be bologna and then a sandwich that is peanut butter and jelly and banana. Very, very important. There's a book I have called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. That's actually a misplaced comma there, but I'm not sure if Maria L. reached out, but she mentioned they're doing ads now on billboards locally highlighting animals that are on the list or have been there very long. She was taking donations and had a link. I did get a note from her that she said they were talking about doing that, but and maybe there was one there that maybe she did send me one where they said they were actually doing it. I don't know. I don't recall that, but it could have been, because I get a lot of notes still every day. I'll see about that. But yeah, I knew he was going to be on a billboard at some point. Happy Fri-YAY. There you go. I didn't realize it was that was the day. Garrison liked the flavoring, but not the meat. There you go. Can we push back on words like Donnybrook or fisticuffs for fighting? Goes to bring backwards. Oh, I'm a big fan of fisticuffsmanship. So I love fisticuffs. That's a great word. Oh, she sent it to you yesterday. Okay, good. Well, I don't think I got anything yesterday, but then again, I may have. I got a lot going on, and maybe I did. I'll check. But I'll be down there today for a little bit with Otis. I think Otis is going to get there about 9ish, and we'll try to do the same. And again, remember, if you don't want to be spotted by the flock cameras out there, when we launch our website fully and officially, you will be able to purchase flock foilers. I don't have a price for this yet, but you can go out in public. I think you can put these over your license plate, perhaps, and you'll be okay. But you can go out in public. Flock camera will not know who you are, because this is what you will look like. So we're working on that as well. All right. I've got to get out of here. Have a great weekend. The funny thing is, like, we've got to the point where we do these things. We're doing them so long now that I'm kind of not ready to go, but I know we need to. So, and there's a lot of stuff we still haven't gotten to yet. What have we not gotten to? It's Friday. This thing, the Jason Arday thing. I don't know if you've seen this or not. They made a huge deal out of this guy, Jason Arday. He's the youngest black staffer at Cambridge. And turns out plagiarized the heck out of most of his academic works, claimed to have worked places he'd never worked, And now they've had to fire him. Or I think he may have resigned, but either way, it's like, and this is the problem with the DEI thing. When you prioritize someone based on their race or their gender or their sexual orientation instead of on their achievements, you get people who fake the achievements, and as long as they have the race, the gender, the sexual orientation, then it's okay. Until it gets found out, and then it's not okay. Claudine Gay, another great example. What else did we have today? Oh, is socialism really come? This is an interesting piece by Daniel Flynn. I read a book by Daniel Flynn years ago, and I was dissatisfied with the book until the very end, and then it wrapped itself up really, really well. It was called Why the Left Hates America. The reason I was not enjoying the book for the most part was because the entire book spent its time telling you that the left hates America and how he knows the left hates America. Well, I already know the left hates America. I'm okay with that. But what he did at the very end was the last chapter says, okay, now you know all of this. Here's why. Because that's what I kept waiting for was why. And at the end, he does give the why. But it's a good book. Anyway, Daniel Flynn, interestingly, makes the case, with everybody talking about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America in the Democrat Party, is socialism coming for the country? And he makes a really, really good case that a lot of young people experimenting and flirting with socialism. Oh, you could have a young Marxist in college. Like there's a guy named, what is his name? Wait a minute, let me check 1,000 of my books. Oh, yes, Thomas Sowell, who was a young Marxist in college. And, discovery of the world and how it actually works made him into a stark raving small government capitalist. And Sowell is one of the great thinkers. He turned 96 a couple of weeks ago. And I'll just say this of Thomas Sowell. Human history spans thousands and tens of thousands of years. We are lucky to have been alive on this planet at the same time as Thomas Sowell. Honest to goodness. Really believe that. I think it is a shame that he has not received the Presidential Medal of Honor, some kind of presidential recognition, because I think he very much deserves it. And at 96 years old, still one of the great thinkers to have ever lived, Thomas Sowell. But he started off as a Marxist. When he was a young man, he was a Marxist. And then the real world made him realize, not so much. Some other things we didn't get to this week, and I held on to this for a couple of days. U.S. manufacturing jobs. Everybody keeps talking about, manufacturing coming back. And I found some of these stats, and this is from Scott Lincecum. That's figure 5. Let's go to a lower numbered figure. Let's see. What about this one? Okay. 4 times as many workers are employed in male-dominated blue-collar service industries than in manufacturing. So this is manufacturing, and we keep talking, we've got to bring manufacturing back. This is the rest of the blue-collar services. We'll go further. Here's Scott Lincecum. For decades, we've had a truly bipartisan effort to use tariffs, subsidies, Buy American mandates, and other big government schemes to bring back U.S. manufacturing jobs. And leaving aside the fact that there are tons of good-paying blue-collar service jobs, here's the result. And then a little tiny spike. That's the Biden administration, that little tiny spike. And they bragged about it, man. They bragged about that little tiny spike. And then we're right back where we were. This is, this whole, we're going to bring the manufacturing jobs back. They're not back. They're not coming back. That's what I've been saying for a long time to you guys. But it's very clearly illustrated here. Now, it seems to be leveling off because I think you reach a point at which you can't really go any lower. Let's see. Across advanced economies, a lower share of workers are employed in manufacturing. So like everywhere, manufacturing jobs are going away in advanced economies. Boom. Netherlands, Canada, Australia. And then we go to this. U.S. labor, and this is the problem. Here is labor productivity up top. This is what we're producing from 89 to 2021. Gigantic increase in the amount of productivity, but a gigantic decrease in the number of manufacturing jobs. And again, if they're not needed, we're not going to have the jobs. It just doesn't work. All right, really quickly, last couple of things. I like the term meatless pizza because it confers the natural state of pizza includes meat. Here, here. Also claimed a lot of marathons he never did. Is that right? Is that Arday? Arday claimed a lot of marathons? Yeah, Arday's another great example of why DEI is a failure. Don't prioritize people based on their skills and abilities and not on their race, gender, and sexual orientation, and you'll have diversity. Diversity will happen. You don't need to put the emphasis on, and again, and I've said this for a long time, a lot of these times we want diversity in the boardroom, et cetera, and it means let's go find people of all these different colors and genders and race and sexual orientations. But if they all think the same thing and think the same way, do you actually have diversity? If they all believe the exact same things, have you achieved any form of diversity? Really quick. Okay. I know I keep wanting to go. I keep needing to go. Technically I do have till 9:30, but this is hilarious to me. This is Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson talking about how awful it is to owe money. To owe money is the same as slavery. This is from his This is literally a scoped piece of his podcast. And stick with this because it takes a while to get to it, but it's pretty great.
How can a sovereign person be underwater in debt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course you can't. Because when you owe more than you can immediately repay, you're effectively owned by the person to whom you owe the money. So debt is an attack on sovereignty.
Debt is bad.
And it's important to say that because no one ever does.
Nope.
And so you kind of move around this society and hear people talk about their credit scores. If it's a significant measure of something, got to have a good credit score. What are you really saying? You have to be worthy of losing your sovereignty to a bank, to a moneylender?
Yeah.
So debt is, of course, and this has been noted in previous societies, really since the beginning of time, a form of slavery. You do not have control over your life when you owe money to people. Well, of course, it's unavoidable in America, unless you're very rich or extremely disciplined beyond what the average person can be expected to maintain.
Yep.
You're going to be in debt. It's hard to do anything without debt.
Yeah. Awful.
But is that good?
No, it's terrible.
Why are we participating in this?
It's awful.
Why are we accepting this as the natural order? It's the most unnatural thing ever devised.
Yeah.
And it's bad. And that's why every major religion acknowledges that it's not just unhelpful, it's sinful.
Sinful.
So it might be a good starting place to say that a society organized around debt at the sovereign, at the national level, but on the personal level, is not a healthy society.
Yeah.
Because it enslaves people.
Yeah. If you borrow money, you're enslaved.
And it's interesting that when you do say that,
yes,
and if you're ever to use the U word, usury, which is lending money at interest, which is banned, has been banned in many countries throughout time because it is bad. Even mentioning that puts you on some list, at least in the minds of the people you're talking to, as like a crazy person, if not a dangerous person.
Our friends at American Financing have a better way. They're helping homeowners use their hard-earned equity, and they're supporting Americans looking to fulfill the dream of owning a home with mortgage rates currently in the
mortgage
fives.
Rates.
American Financing saves its customers an average of $800 a month. That's about 10 grand a year.
Yeah.
It's not just a loan, it's a true financial
it's
reset.
not just a loan.
We recommend American Financing. They're called America's home for
we recommend
home loans
them
for a reason. So get out of credit card debt. I mean, it is just crazy to borrow money. No judgment, but it doesn't make any sense to borrow money at that rate.
Yeah, you should borrow money at the other
call
rate.
800-685-5696. 800-685-5696 or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Tucker.
So Tucker Carlson comes on a jag about how it's terrible. You borrow money, never borrow money. Don't ever, it's just sinful to borrow money. And then, by the way, we back this person that you should be borrowing money from. How can you tell it's a scam? How can you tell that the person does not believe the things they are telling you? I think we just hit on one of those. I think we just hit on one of those. All right. I got to get out of here. You guys have fun. I will see you Monday. Might see you over the weekend. You never know. Got a lot going on this weekend, though, so maybe not. We'll see. All right. Have fun. See you guys later. Catch ya.